everyone, and welcome to Zest with me, Shel, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today, I am so excited to welcome Nicola Eaton-Taylor, a powerhouse who has blended corporate strategy with holistic healing, from HR and leadership to yoga, Reiki, and NLP coaching. Wow. She helps individuals and teams release limiting beliefs, reconnect with their purpose, and create emotional safety, safe and thriving workplaces. I will get my words out. So in this episode, we will explore how personal growth fuels professional success. And I would love to dedicate this episode to the rise of authentic leadership and the remembrance that when individuals grow, communities and organizations thrive. I'm so excited for you to meet her. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. Really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And it's just really ironic. Sometimes I like to just bring up the behind the scenes, but we were just literally talking about like if we make a mistake and then on cue, Shelley achieves the goal. But I think everything has a reason. So even with that, I think that shows that if we can, in these spaces or in these conversations, in our work, in our personal life, just actually flow and accept the way things turn out, we just have this so much more, I feel like, joy and happiness. Like I feel like I laughed, so maybe someone else will laugh at that error, you know? Everything is what we make it, isn't it? So if we see it as bad or wrong, then it becomes bad or wrong. So first of all, thank you so much for coming. And I know, wow, just your bio, you have so much that I'm intrigued about. But what I always love to know is, before we get into the nitty-gritty of like all the incredible impact you're creating, where did it all stem from? Where did this spark ignite? Because I can see your spark inspiration.
I guess I've always had a passion for helping people. It's always been displayed in other ways, but it was actually when I went and studied NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, at a practitioner level and then at a master practitioner level, that I sort of really understood what my purpose is truly for. Yeah.
Wow. And do you mind me asking, like, what was that, like, that kind of moment where it just clicked and you just was like, wow? Because I think there's always that kind of moment, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I think for me it was a sequential amount of little clicks, to be fair. Yeah, not just one sort of big aha moment. Yeah, there was a number of moments when I kind of wanted to explore how I can better help myself to help others through my sort of employment and other aspects. And it was really about trying to build upon the lessons that I'd learned through the holistic study I'd done. I'd become a yoga teacher and holistic therapist, and a Reiki Master about 20 years ago. But there was something that was holding me back, and it seemed to be a belief that money is given to you through paid employment. And so I stayed in the corporate world, and I kind of knew I wasn't fulfilled. So although I'd got all of these other skills, it took me a while to realise that I was actually bringing them into the workplace without me actually knowing it. And how that would happen would be in things like working with individuals who were off sick. So in a HR profession, I was supporting managers and individuals, bringing them back into the workplace after being sick, or helping them to deal with stressful situations in the workplace. And so I used a lot of health and safety knowledge, as well as HR legislation, and then the holistic aspects that I'd learned to facilitate that person returning back into the workplace.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then I went on to become a workplace mediator, which really did build those skills and capacity to help understand from different perspectives and find that middle place where people can actually get along better and respect each other.
Wow, there's so much in all that you've just revealed. But to go back first to the first thing you said about that money only comes from a worked, sorry, I want to say your words right, from being paid basically in
Yeah.
a job.
Mm-hmm.
I first of all would really like to honor you for mentioning that, because even particularly with me, and I'm sure lots of people who are entrepreneurs or they've created their own ideas that essentially, you know, they want to create their own businesses out of. And this was a huge one for me because, and as much as I knew I knew from the, I guess, the conscious mind that I could see others could do it and create it, and if they can do it, I can do it. There was such a big block in my own subconscious mind because I realized that, and I think this is really important to mention, and I'm sure you would be able to add more to this. We need to be so kind to ourselves during this process, because this has had however many years of telling us that this is the only way. And so even though at the front we are now seeing and we are exploring, we have to allow ourselves that time to really allow our mind to feel safe, our nervous system, our internal system to feel safe, and to know that we can do it. And I remember the first time I think someone paid me. It wasn't even like much if you consider it like that. I think it was like £10, okay, £10 for something I created, and you would have thought I'd won the lottery, because to me, I created something and someone saw value and worth in that, and they exchanged it. And it wasn't about the money, it was about the exchange, and it just was like, wow, it was so beautiful. And but prior to that, oh, it was months of receiving nothing, you know, nothing, and just holding that belief and knowing, okay, there's value and worth, and looking for the evidence of what I'm creating. So I would love you to add more to that, because I know that you, obviously with the brain and all you've learned.
Yeah, true. I agree completely with what you're saying, and I think money is a concept, isn't it? There's a paper, physical manifestation of what money is,
Yeah.
but actually it's an exchange of energy. It represents that exchange of energy, doesn't it? So then it comes back to values and how much you value yourself. So if you've got an employer saying you are worth X amount of thousands of pounds, then maybe you just live to that level and you don't explore any further. Frustrations can get in place, and you know, then you're just stuck in that mindset. So a lot of things I do with people about my mindset and about their values. So, for example, I've been working with a lot of gents at the moment who have sort of lived an identity in their workplace, and they've got up to a certain age and a certain status within the companies that they've been working at, and then that becomes their identity. And so with that identity, then the status and there's the financial security, etc., attached to it, and it becomes part of their personality.
Wow.
And then
yeah,
and then if for whatever reason it's removed, so perhaps a redundancy or another sort of maybe performance reviews, etc., or other reasons why they might need to leave the business or exit the business through no fault of their own, they lose their identity and they lose that personality and they lose the status. So it has a massive shift in their integrity, how they value themselves. So I do a lot of work with them on the mindset, building their CV back up, not just focusing on the qualifications that they've had or the sort of status within the company, but actually who they are in themselves.
That's so powerful what you've just mentioned, Nicola, because the two sides that I heard from that is, one, they became an identity, And then, like what you said, they are so held to this identity, and then when the cracks or something traumatic comes, or a change, which essentially happens in life, changes always come. I love what you mentioned, that were they even that to start with, but that's just what they thought they were. And so yeah, it's almost like death, or like grieving and loss of something that actually was never even us. It was something that was, I'm not saying that everybody who shows up a certain way, but we were kind of created and became this version. And I can fully relate to that, because even as a teacher, like, I wasn't completely different. But when I had the holiday, that whole month off, and people say, oh, you're so lucky, I wasn't the same version. And it was like I grieved every year I started to go back into that role again. And there's nothing against that. But for me, it was my personal realization of, I always felt that like I was losing a piece of me every time I went back in after having that long period of time apart where I found myself again. So I can 100% relate to that. And that was like, I think 13 years of like the role, grieving, and then wondering why I kind of wasn't as keen on the month of September, which was ironic because it was my birthday month, which I should love. But I always, and it was like, it was a cycle, it was a pattern. And it's not saying other people really thrive from that identity, which I think is important for us to mention. And some people, that is them, and it could be the opposite of, they come to you because actually their whole world is completely collapsed, and they're like, but that's me, I want that, that's me. Whereas then there's the other person who was never that, and so there's so many layers to it. Wow, it's so fascinating.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there is. What I find fascinating, and where I can really sort of make the difference with them, is by working through their sort of job description and their interview technique. And what's really apparent is how they view that. And I talk in NLP terms, you might hear it. We talk about being above the line, which is about being above the line is where you've got accountability, responsibility, and ownership, where cause and effect is in your control. So in those circumstances, I talk to them about, okay, that's happened. What do you want to do about it?
Solution.
Yeah, exactly. And so instead of being below the line, which is about blame, excuses, and denial, what can happen is they can resonate in that place of blame, excuses, and denial. It's somebody else's fault. I'm really angry at what's happened to me. And that energy transfers to the CV, and it also transfers to the job search, and also how they turn up at an interview if they get one. And we are energy beings, aren't we? So people will connect to that. You'll struggle to build rapport, you'll not shine as well as you can do in the interview. So it comes back full circle to those beliefs about yourself and your values that you hold about yourself.
Oh my gosh, that's I thank you so much for highlighting that, because I know there'll be probably some people listening like, huh, what? Just let it just continue, let it really sit. But I 100% can relate to what you're saying. And even going back to when you're putting up a LinkedIn post or you're displaying yourself on social media, this is one thing I particularly from what you've just highlighted, I go back to me first, and I'm saying, okay, what am I seeking from this? Am I seeking, like, today I feel not so whole, so I want some attention? Or generally, am I really feeling that something that's happened in my life, I feel like someone else could benefit from it? And so I understand completely what you're saying about, even if we don't want to determine, label it as energy, I understand what you mean by energy, but just to break it down to other people, it always goes back to people. I'd love your take on this, but what I've noticed is people always feel the subconscious intention behind it, even when we're not aware of it, because sometimes we're not aware of it. We have to really question why we're doing what we're doing all the time. Am I making this gift for somebody because I want them to think, wow, she's amazing? Or do I generally want to give this gift to somebody because I love them? And I think, we have to, I love what you've just mentioned. Really powerful. Thank you. So yeah, just in that alone, I know so many people like are listening now and thinking, okay, what mood was I in when I was writing that CV? Was I like, ah, and I didn't even like that job anyway, and I'm gonna get a better job, and all that energy, all that like, yeah, is going into that process. So, and I think also we need to be kind to ourselves. I would like please elaborate on this, but I think actually it's important we do have that ugliness side, and we process that. We don't suppress it of like, oh, okay, this just happened in my life. Something exciting is coming, because that's not normal either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do you know, if you accidentally hurt yourself on
Yeah.
something, let's say, um, what could happen? You could um, bang your head on a shelf, and you go, "Ow, that really hurts. I'm not going to do that again." And you sort of have a
Mm,
muscle memory, you know where that shelf is, you know to avoid it next time. So you've moved on, you've taken action, you've felt the pain, you've realised where it's come from, and you've moved away from it, and you know you're not going to do it again. With emotional stuff, it's harder for people to let go of it, and they hold on to that anger and they stop it from being processed. And it's almost like they feel like they need to stay in that pain. And so the work I do with people is understanding why they want to do that. And sometimes that's to do with that's only what they know or what they
yeah.
expect from the map of the world, that's how they should be. And so
Mm,
I challenge that thinking and sort of say, you're talking about an emotional pain that you're holding on to and you're keeping yourself in that space. If
mm.
it was a physical pain, would you keep doing that? If you did something that, had made you break your leg, for
Wow.
example, would you go and do it again?
Wow. Oh my
So
gosh.
so why do we have a different aspect of the physical pain to a emotional pain?
100%. Wow. So powerful. And I know even myself now, like, yeah, it's such a dunk. Oh, ouch. Okay, avoid. But what is it like? And I think not going too deep, but I know that you will know that there is always a much deeper reason to why we go back to these same patterns, these same safety feelings that aren't safe, but for
Yes.
us, that's all we ever known. And yeah, it's hard to just really sit with that, or you don't have to just sit with it. We have incredible women like you and leaders all over the world that are here that have, done the research. They're able to navigate and support you, not give you the answers, because we're all here to find our own answers, but to just allow you that time to process and just give you a new perspective on things. And I think it's just everything you're mentioning today is really, really powerful. Thank you so much.
No problem. I do say I've got a couple of sayings, and you might have heard them in if you're talking to anybody else who's in NLP. I certainly don't own these statements at all, but awareness is curative. So if you have somebody who can sort of compassionately highlight those things, those repeating patterns to you, and help you work through them, that's really beneficial.
Yeah, I love
Yeah, and also stop thinking and get out of. I say stop thinking and come to your senses.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
And that is the thing, like, I think sometimes because it's a new face or a new job or a new country, we aren't always able to see it. But that's the whole mystery, isn't it? That's the whole
yeah,
discovery. So
yeah,
yeah, just when we even just communicating, I'm sure when people are just sitting communicating with you, you will see it very differently, because while they're communicating it, they're having that visual, that going back to that memory and that experience, whereas you're hearing it more from a fact point of view. So then you say this person and this and this and this and then this job and this and this and this, and you're like, interesting. But they're in the story of it, aren't they? So
yeah,
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 powerful, really
yeah,
powerful.
yeah.
Wow, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I know many people listening right now. I definitely would I find it so fascinating, and I definitely feel like even NLP is something that I feel is calling me to explore more.
Yeah,
It's incredible, and
yeah.
but even just for people listening right now, how can they, like, what do you offer in order for them to connect with you?
So yeah, I've got lots of different avenues. I've kind of got a big toolbox to be able to help people. For example, I run corporate away days, so I come into the workplace and train leadership, sort of servant leadership, NLP leadership models, emotional intelligence, psychological safety, how to hold difficult conversations. And when I say difficult conversations, that's because we know what that means.
Yeah.
However, I would argue that no conversation is difficult if you approach it from the right direction.
But even that in itself, like, even if someone takes that in itself, if someone literally, like right now, is like, yeah, I know what a difficult conversation is, and you've just literally summarized it as that, this is a glimpse into your mindset. And you have such this beautiful calming like presence, and that's the important thing. Like, it's back to that saying of someone doing the same as what they've already known are not going to find the solution. But it's when you actively seek someone different, not almost not opposite, but with a different mindset, a different way, a different knowledge, a different understanding, that's when the change will come. So I appreciate that so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. The other things I do, I coach individuals. I specialize in HR coaching because if you're in HR, it's a difficult world. You're always in the middle, so you don't sort of set the agenda, but you have to get people on board and get people to persuade and influence that to be on track. You get blamed for stuff like it's never the manager's fault; it's always that HR team. So you're
They're the
always
middle
that.
one
Yeah,
of like receiving and
yeah,
and dispute and just distributing, and then it's like
yeah, yeah. General problem solver. Yep,
yeah.
exactly. So they have a difficult time. So with my HR coaching, I really sort of go into the mindset of it, and help them to not carry the day with them when they go home and just be able to
Wow.
rest and relax and just know that they're doing what they need to do at the right place and the right time for the right reasons.
Mm.
And however it's received by other people, your intention is pure. So therefore that their the way that they've received it is down to them. And you can help them to sort of be on board because
Yeah.
really it comes back to that cause and effect. You've only got so much control over how people perceive you or react to you, and the method of your communication is the answer. So, and you have to stop taking ownership then of how they then deal with that. it, you can only be
Wow.
responsible for how you deliver what you need to do in the workplace. How the individuals respond to that is their business. And so just
Absolutely.
detract from that, detach from it, do what you can, know your boundaries, stick to them, and just be kind to yourself.
Wow, that's so powerful, and so many things you're mentioning today. It's incredible. Thank you so much. What a really, really impactful and empowering conversation that we're having. And even that in itself, it's this whole selfish thing. No, because like what you're saying, if you're carrying everybody else's, often sometimes things that aren't actually true about how they're feeling about you, it all goes back to the mind and your value and your worth and what you think of yourself. So mastering your own mind is going to personally, professionally, all areas of your life completely change you. So wow, really
Yeah,
powerful. Thank you.
yeah, and that's it exactly. So when you think about it, it's all about relationships, well-being, and performance.
Yeah.
And you can't grow professionally if you don't deal with the things that are personal. For
Mm.
example, let's say if you are phobic about driving, you're never going to look for a job, which means that you're going to have to drive. So, therefore, you're limiting your exposure to the jobs that you could apply for, and
Wow.
therefore holding your career back.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just dealt with that phobia about driving, the sky's the limit.
Wow, I love that. That's really, really incredible. And like obviously people think outside the box of that. That's just driving put it personally to you, and maybe even just one thing you take today is, okay, what one thing is really limiting me? Can I really be brave enough, courageous enough to change it? Because like what you've just said, without even realizing it, it's like, yeah, you're looking and straight away, oh, that could be driving, that could be driving. And sometimes we are not conscious of this. This is, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really. So what I know you've said so much already, but what I just really love all my guests to do just before they go is just off the top of their head, if there was something right now that you feel someone listening would really benefit from hearing, what would you tell them?
That's a really good question. Oh, there's so much stuff just coming into my head. Let me just see if I can formulate something. I want to say that nothing's real. It's only the concept of your mind that's making it a reality.
Wow. Yes. Yes, I've been doing a lot about quantum physics at the moment, and I can understand exactly what you're saying. We'll leave it at that. And if anyone's intrigued by what you just said or quantum physics, this is for you to explore. But wow, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
Incredible. And I know we didn't even touch on the surface of so much greatness that is, I know, just within you and in your mind and all that you're doing. I appreciate you so much. And thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're so welcome.